Today, I'm going to talk about one stock that I think could be the market's cheapest growth stock that's still a small cap. And for me, a small cap means under $5 billion. Now, here's the thing. I cover a lot of different stocks. All these stocks are the stocks that I either own or are on my watch list. And so figuring out which stock it is can be a little confusing. This is why. The tool that you use to value a company depends heavily on what stage of the business growth cycle a company is in. For instance, if I were to do a valuation based on total addressable market, that would make sense in the first three stages, but no sense in the last three. Different multiples are used in different stages, different uses of a reverse discounted cash flow analysis or using yields. But today, the stock that we're going to be talking about is none other than Transmedics. And the tool that we're going to use for Transmedics will actually be this total addressable market. Now, some of you might not be familiar with what Transmedics is. The long and short of it is this. It is a company that so far has 3 devices that are approved to help prolong the life of a heart, a lung, or a liver in the cases of transplants. But it doesn't just stop there, because keeping these organs alive and warm for longer, monitoring them, extending their preservation, and leading to increased organ usage is one part of it, but they also own their own aviation unit, which helps fly those organs around and helps deliver them in time to be used for better patient outcomes. Now, many of you may know that I used to own this stock before in the past, but when the company started to have a little bit of trouble versus what was expected, I realized I didn't know enough about it. And that did affect my outcomes. Now, I have recorded my outcomes over the last 10 plus years. You can see my results here in the green. That red all the way down there, that's the S&P 500, and the yellow is the NASDAQ composite. And I tell you about this because in my program, Stock Investing Mentor, we've talked a ton about Transmedics. Now, Stock Investing Mentor has 3 parts. The first is 1 hour of live weekly sessions every week that are recorded if you can't make it. Number 2 is full real-time access to my portfolio. So you'll find out when I decided to purchase shares of Transmedics and why, along with a video explanation and 24/7 access to a private online investing community. If you'd like to join Stock Investing Mentor and get 10% off, click the top link in the show notes below, and that deal lasts until the end of the day on Thursday, March 19th. Now, here's what got me back into Transmedics, okay? They said before that they believe that they could reach 10,000 organs transplanted by the end of 2028. Now, for reference's sake, the year just ended, they ended just above 5,000 organs for 2025. So that's roughly a doubling in 3 years. But in September of last year, management updated their guidance. Remember, before they said we can do 10,000 transplants by the end of 2028. But the updated version has them going anywhere between 20,000 to 30,000 transplants by the end of 2030. That's a huge difference. Think about that. At the top end of that guidance, that means 6xing the number of organs that are going to be transplanted roughly in just 5 years. That's a big deal. Now, a big part of that, you noticed in the first slide, is that it was heart, lung, and liver. A big part of that is the fact that the company plans to bring on kidneys, a 4th organ, in the near future. Now, let me show you why I think that this is actually a pretty good deal. And I'm going to do it using that tool I just said, a total addressable market valuation. So I've created a bear case, a base case, and a bull case by 2030. Now, in the bear case, we're going to say they don't even reach their goal and they just get 15,000 organs transplanted. The base case will take the lowest possible of management's guidance, 20,000 organs. And the bull case, they reach the top end of management's guidance, 30,000 organs transplanted by the end of 2030. Next, we've got to talk about the revenue per transplant. Now, here's the thing. Right now, heart, lung, and liver, primarily in the United States, Transmedics gets about $120,000 per organ transplant. That includes the machine, the specialist, the perfusion tools, and the transportation. Now, it is entirely likely that those numbers will come down with the liver because kidney transplants tend to have lower rates. So in our bear case, we're saying it'll fall all the way from 120,000 down to 75,000. In the base case, I'm trying to be conservative. It'll fall by about a quarter to 90,000. And in the bull case, it's still falling, but just from 120,000 to 100,000. And this is just simple math to see where the revenue would be by the end of 2030. Now, another important thing that management said in September of 2025 was that we believe we'll have 30% operating margins plus 30% plus by the end of 2030. Now, in the bear case, I say they don't reach that goal. They're at 25%. The base case, I say they just reach that goal, 30%. And in the bull case, we take the plus and we make it 33% operating margins. And again, simple math shows you where operating profits would be by the end of 2030. And finally, we have to ask ourselves, well, what type of multiple could the company be trading for? In the bear case, we just say 12 times operating profit, okay? In the base case, given that it's growing as much as it is, we say 25 times operating profit. And in the bull case, 35 times operating profit. Now remember, today, this is roughly a $4.4 billion company. If the bear case becomes true and they really fall short of all of them, well, then by the end of 2030, it's just a $3.4 billion company, which you want to stay away from. If you believe in the base case, well, then it can reach $13.5 billion. That's a lot more than it's worth today, roughly 3x. And in the bull case, it could be $35 billion, which is a whole lot more than it is today. But let's weigh these probabilities. Now, before we do, let me just say this. If you disagree with my numbers, simply look at this screen right here, pause it, and adjust them to fit what you believe in. But if I'm going to blend this, let's just give a 1% chance of the company hitting the bull case. I believe that they probably will do better than the bear case that I've constructed here, because I don't believe that management, which is led by a founder CEO, would really set themselves up to fall short of a goal they weren't very confident that they could reach. That being said, I'll still give a 24% chance of the bear case and then a 3/4 chance of just hitting the base case. Now, if we blend those together, what does it show us? It shows us that today's $4.3 billion company could be worth $11.3 billion by the end of 2030. Now remember, the stock market returns roughly 10% every year over a long enough time frame. But using this math, which I believe was fair if tilting slightly towards conservative, we're looking at over 20% returns per year for the next 5 years. So that is very attractive to me. Now, as I said, I've actually already built out this position to between 8 and 10%. And if you're a member of Stock Investing Mentor, you could follow along with. So don't forget to hit that top link. But let's also talk about what are the key risks for this happening. Number one key risk, and this is probably the most, is that if they don't get FDA approval for kidney, well, then that changes the math entirely. It's also worth noting that they have a next-gen heart OCS 3.0, which is the organ care system, and that is baked into these assumptions as well. Number two, reimbursement rates could change, and the government might not be willing to reimburse at the levels that even reach that $75,000 per transplant. That said, the company has shown that using its tools can save money over the long run because of the fact that they reduce complications, and that needs to be taken into consideration. And number three is just competition. If better solutions come to market, that's a threat. It's also why that aviation unit, while expensive and a little bit of a headache, is an important differentiator. But that's why I think Transmedics might be one of the best growth stocks on the market right now, especially for small caps. Let me know what you think about this in the comments section below, and don't forget to hit subscribe to find out how Transmedics is doing the next time that they report earnings. Until then, Brian, out.